Chapter 14. Marioshoni, as Wayaki's school was called, was well known in the country. Already, it had a history. It was the first people's own school to be built since the break with Syriana. It had been Wayaki's idea, and even now he could not understand fully how his idea had borne fruit so quickly. He saw it as something beyond himself, something ordained by fate. Event had followed event in quick succession, quickening the rhythm of life in the hills. There had been the harvest, then Modoni's death, the tightening of Syriana's mission laws, to the extent of not admitting to the school those who were the children of darkness, whose parents had not renounced the whole concept of circumcision. Wayaki could still remember the excitement and the tension created along the ridges by these events. His father's death had almost numbed him. He could not tell why, but Shege's death, though not unexpected, came as a shock to him. It seemed unfair that Shege should have died at this particular time. He should have lived longer, and Oyaki had gone on like a man drugged, not knowing what to think or do. He had all of a sudden become a grown man. He was now on his own. It was while he was in this mood that the idea of schools had come to him. But what could he do, he being so young? And what had happened meant that he would never go back to Syriana. His time to work and serve the people had come. In starting self-help in education, Wayaki had seen it as a kind of mission. It was a vision which he followed with hope and passion. He traveled from ridge to ridge, all over the country of the sleeping lions. He found a willing people. Yes, the ridges were beginning to awake. The trees, the birds, the paths he trod, all knew him, knew a man destined to serve his country. But here was not the only place where this sort of thing was happening. This new spirit simultaneously surged all over the Gikuyu country, from Kirenyaga to Kafete. Schools grew up like mushrooms. Often, a school was nothing more than a shed hurriedly thatched with grass. And there they stood, symbols of people's thirst for the white man's secret magic and power. Few wanted to leave the white man's way, but all wanted this thing, this magic. This work of building together was a tribute to the tribe's way of cooperation. It was a determination to have something of their own making, fired by their own imagination. But it was more than this. Circumcision was an important ritual to the tribe. It kept people together, bound the tribe. It was at the core of the social structure and something that gave meaning to man's life. End the custom, and the spiritual basis of the tribe's cohesion and integration would be no more. The cry was up. Yukoyo Karenga, keep the tribe pure. It was a soul's cry, a soul's wish. The schools were soon overflowing with children, hungry for this thing. A class held many children crammed together, while their teachers, any who could be grabbed from Syriana, sat in front, and the expectant little eyes looked up to them, wanting to drink in this learning. And mothers and fathers waited, expecting their children to come home full of learning and wisdom. Parents would feel proud, very proud, when a son came in the evening with a tear-washed face. Beaten? There, don't cry. You are a man, and he is a teacher, you know. That teacher is good. He beats them hard. And to the teacher passing through the village, hey, teacher? Yes, beat them harder. We want them to learn. The children got the enthusiasm of their parents. Perhaps they saw they were the hope and the glory of the tribe. But alongside these great changes, there were some people who continued as of old, unbending to no one way or the other. Wayaki was the headmaster of Marioshoni. He went there in the morning and went back home in the evening. It was nearly always like that, and he liked it. The walk gave him time to think about many of the problems connected with education. He wanted to do a lot for all and serve faithfully. Yet, the power of hate and the ever-widening rift generated, as it were, by Muthoni's death was enough to worry anyone. There were the Christians led by Joshua, men of Joshua as they were sometimes called. Their home, Makoyo. Then there were the people of the tribe who had always been against the mission and its faith. Kameno was, as it were, their home or base. The other ridges, more or less, followed this pattern, and so the ancient rivalry continued, sometimes under this or that guise. It was all confusion building up and spreading under the outward calm of the ridge. Where did people like Wayaki stand? Had he not received the white man's education? And was this not part of the other faith, the new faith? The Kameno group was strengthened by the breakaway group led by Gabonyi. Wayaki felt himself standing outside all this, and at times he felt isolated. Yet, amidst this isolation, he felt proud. He was proud of the small but important role he played in awakening the hills, the sleeping lions, and inside him, he felt vaguely that it would be good to reconcile all these antagonisms. His role, however, did not satisfy him. He still felt hungry and yearning for something that would fill him whole, a thing that would take possession of the whole of himself. That something seemed beyond him, enmeshed as he was in the ways of the land. Wayaki was now a tall, powerfully built man who struck people as being handsome. Even so, this was not the most striking thing about him. It was his eyes. They looked delicately tragic, but they also appeared commanding and imploring. It was his eyes that spoke of that yearning, that longing for something that would fill him all in all. Sometimes the longing drove him to hard work. Wayaki was capable of real hard labor. For this and his courageous determination, he was liked and admired by the people of the ridges. Maybe the spirit that was his father had entered him. So young, this puzzled people. The young could never be expected to lead or manage something that was big. Perhaps it is the white man's learning, they said. No. Do you not remember him as a boy? Yes, always queer and full of quiet courage. It is the line he descends from. Don't you remember his father? Yes, he was... Wayaki was becoming the pride of the hills and the pride of Kameno. Already, they had started calling him the champion of the tribe's ways of life. End of chapter 14.